from beautiful Estero, Florida, just outside of Fort Myers and a few miles from the campus of Florida Gulf Coast University. This is the Gulf Coast Showcase here at Germain Arena, and it's game number 2 of 4 here today. The Georgia Southern Eagles and the Missouri State Bears. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the broadcast. My name is Spencer Siegel. Happy to have you along for this one here today. We are moments from tip-off between Georgia Southern and Missouri State, and these two schools have a lot of optimism, a lot to look forward to, and we'll start with Missouri State out of the Missouri Valley Conference, number 1 in the MVC preseason poll. This is a team that just lost a tough game on Friday to North Dakota State, and now they're coming back. These two teams probably the two favorites to win this tournament, but it's the all-important first game, and once you play the first game, if you don't come away with a win, then you're on the loser's side of the bracket for the next 2 days. So both of these schools are looking to pick up a Game 1 win to get themselves on the right side for the next 2 days. This is the Gulf Coast Showcase. It's a 3-day-long men's tournament that feature 8 different teams, 12 games, 4 games a day. We just played Game 1, and the University of Missouri-Kansas City, the Kangaroos, took home a victory over the Manhattan Jaspers. The winner of this game awaits UMKC, the loser, to play Manhattan tomorrow at 11 a.m. We are underway, ready to go with these two sides, and it starts with Georgia Southern and their combo of Ike Smith and Tukey Brown, and right on cue, Ike Smith gets underway, the junior from Gainesville, Florida. He and Tukey Brown are the two that we'll be watching on that side of the ball. Now over here, we've got more star-studded players, including Alize Johnson, who is on the watch list as one of the nation's top mid-major players. Georgia Southern in the white, Missouri State wearing a black uniform, despite their colors being predominantly purple. After Smith came up with a deuce, it was Mike Hughes for 3 and a quick 5-0 lead for Georgia Southern. Ronnie Russo is fouled. He'll head to the line for 2. We've got a lot to cover with these two teams, but I mentioned we start with Missouri State. And they are, according to the preseason poll, number 1 in the MVC. This is a Missouri Valley Conference that's different this year compared to any of the past, call it 10 years or so, with Wichita State. They're no longer in the conference. Wichita, one of the best college basketball teams in the country, they've moved to the American Athletic Conference, which leaves the Missouri Valley fairly wide open to figure out, hey, who's going to take the spot as top dog? Russo goes 1 for 2 from the line, and Georgia Southern brings it back with Ike Smith handling the ball. This is a Georgia Southern team on the other side as Brown raises up for 3 and nails one. Now Smith and Brown have both connected. A quick 8-1 lead, and an offensive foul sends the ball back down to the Eagles. Georgia Southern returns 94% of its scoring from a year ago and all 5 starters as Brown handles the ball. Last year played in the postseason for the first time since 2006. Jake Alsmiller on the drive. He finds Hughes for 3, looking for a second one, and connects. Mike Hughes with a pair of triples and a big 11-1 lead, jumping out early, and now the ball in the hands of Alize Johnson for the first time, and we're going to see a lot of that this week. Alize Johnson comes up with a pair. Brown taking on Johnson, crosses him over, but the ball turned over to Missouri State. They put the ball in the hands of their man Johnson, who looks for Russo for 3. Kaboom! Ronnie Russo answers back, and we are off and running here at Germain Arena. 11-6, a 5-point lead for Georgia Southern early on. Tukey Brown in the corner, finds Monte Glenn, but he traveled. For the Eagles, their CBI postseason appearance, I said first since 2006. A loss to Utah Valley out of the WAC in the CBI. But they have high hopes for their Sun Belt League play this year. One of the most stable forces in all of the Sun Belt. Johnson up top. A shot from Jared Rhodes. Misses off the back iron. Georgia Southern coming the other way. Ike Smith handles the ball, rises up, fouled, and the bucket. Ike Smith, Tukey Brown, Alize Johnson all getting into it early on. Those are our three players to watch, but there's more talent beyond that. But Smith and Brown, they're the guys, both named captains as juniors. They're both juniors, despite the fact that there are 5 seniors on this Georgia Southern team. Last year, the duo were 1 and 2 in scoring in the Sun Belt last year. On the same team, no less. They were the 3rd highest freshman scoring duo in the country 2 years ago. Now it's Russo manning the point, looking for Ryan Kreklow, who drives and gets rejected by Smith. Back come the Eagles. Mike Hughes, crossover on Johnson, dishes out, 3-ball, off the back iron. Smith couldn't connect that time, and the ball out of bounds. We'll keep it with Georgia Southern. A lot of quick substitutions early on as Tukey Brown comes back into the game and Mike Hughes departs. Smith looking for a screen from Coy Simmons. Had Simmons down low, instead dishes it off. There's a free throw line jumper for Simmons. It rattles out, and Johnson the rebound. Russo handles. Johnson wants a screen, instead just rises up. Rebound to Smith. Or rather, Brown. On the drive, all the way to the rack with the left hand. Tukey Brown with 2 more. 10-point lead for Georgia Southern. Russo on the crossover. Fancy moves. Dishes down low. Mid-range jump shot off the mark by Jared Dixon. Eagles rolling early, looking to keep the momentum. Tukey Brown is fouled by Ronnie Russo. Georgia Southern is led by 5th-year head coach Mark Byington, but we'll have more on that after this break. Early on, it's Georgia Southern with a 10-point lead, thanks to Ike Smith and Tukey Brown here on Flow Hoops TV. Welcome back to Germain Arena here in Estero, Florida, just outside of Fort Myers. Happy to have you along for this one. It's game number 2 of 4 in the Gulf Coast Showcase here on day 1 of 3. And Missouri State and Georgia Southern often running early. The Georgia Southern Eagles, getting a look at them there, as I mentioned, led by head coach Mark Byington. In his 5th year, 76-64 in his first 4 years. Byington was an assistant at the College of Charleston for 8 years, an assistant at Virginia Tech. And he's got himself a pair of juniors, along with several role players who really help complement Smith and Brown. It's Tukey Brown who handles the ball right now. And he'll go down low to Smith, who's a big body for a guard, fighting his way through, and on the second effort comes up with the bucket. Right now, all Georgia Southern with a 12-point lead. Ryan Kreklow on the drive. Nifty bounce pass. Then underneath, it's Miller with the two. JT Miller, the senior guard from Clinton, North Carolina. And right back comes Georgia Southern, but a breakaway. Alize Johnson with a flush. Johnson has been named to the Lou Henson Award watch list for the nation's top mid-major player. We'll get a good look over the next 3 days at the kind of player he can be. Smith leans into the shot and draws the foul. They'll nab Kreklow for that one. Not only was Alize Johnson named to that watch list, so too is this man, Ike Smith. Can't connect on the first. Junior from Gainesville, Florida, not too far away. Call it about maybe a 5-hour drive. First team all Sun Belt last year. Mark Byington likes quick substitutions, as we learn early. Jared Dixon will handle the point. Miller on the drive. A reverse. No good. The rebound, his own. A lot of bodies down there. Too many hands. One of them fouled Miller. They're getting Monte Glenn for the body. The Bears are led by Paul Lusk in his 7th season with Missouri State. He's just 46 years old. Has played or coached in 10 NCAA tournaments. Miller drives, scoops, and scores. Nice play, JT Miller, to bring the Bears back to within 7. With Smith out of the game, Tukey Brown handles the ball handling duties, finds Glenn, who then dishes to Mike Hughes. Jared Hamilton makes a move and finishes strong at the rim. High scoring, high paced, back and forth offense so far. Down low, they look for Reggie Scurry, who's doubled out of the double team. The pass tipped away, stolen by Hughes, who pulls up for 3, just off the back iron. You can't even catch your breath so far early on. Now Brown gets a steal of his own, goes up with the contact from Dixon, connects anyway. 2 more points for Tukey Brown. They'll try Scurry again. Mid-range. He fell down on the way down. Bears struggling from the field. Georgia Southern feeling the momentum, pushes the ball. Hughes to Hamilton. Rebound fought for. Glenn has it, but he traveled. For Ike Smith and Tukey Brown, not only were they the 1 and 2 scoring duo last year, but according to Coach Mark Byington, he says their love of basketball makes them the hardest workers out there. When they have success, they're humble, but they're also coachable, and want to get better. Alize Johnson. Rebound to Georgia Southern, pushing the ball up the floor, David Lee Jones Jr. It's Hughes with a fadeaway. Rattles around and out, rebound Johnson. He'll push it himself. Looking to muscle his way home, gets fouled, can't grab the and one, but will head to the line for two. Johnson fighting his way all the way down, and Georgia Southern not really stopping the ball in transition. He's a big body, but you've got to be careful in order to stop him down the stretch. We'll head to a break. It's an 11-point lead for Georgia Southern on Flow Hoops TV. Back at Germain Arena with the Bears and Eagles doing battle in game 2. First game was all UMKC. Kangaroos defeated the Jaspers. Now we get a pair of teams who are projected to be near the top of their respective conferences. In the Sun Belt, only UT Arlington and Louisiana Lafayette have had 10-plus wins in conference over the last 3 years. Georgia Southern, although they haven't been to the NCAA tournament over the last 3 years, they are always near the top, and in terms of one-bid leagues, it always comes down to that conference tournament, which determines who gets that bid to the NCAA tournament. Georgia Southern have had their opportunities in the past. They feel good about this year, though. Ike Smith to Jake Alsmiller. Haven't called his name yet today, but he's somebody to look out for as well. Coach Byington calls Alsmiller a floor spacer. Whip pass to Smith, 3-ball. Rebound Johnson. Boy, he's all over the boards already. In the corner, Jared Rhodes gets it down to Obadiah Church. Johnson had a three, hesitated, took it anyway, missed short. Rebound, though, goes to Rhodes. Now Dixon tries a three, well short. Church the rebound. He's fouled on the dunk attempt. Will head to the line for two, is a bit shaken up. Obadiah Church muscling his way on the offensive glass. In the early goings so far, 12 points before that media timeout for Missouri State. 4 from Russo, 4 from Johnson, 4 from JT Miller. Obadiah Church is a 6'7" junior from Springfield, Illinois. All defensive team last year in the Missouri Valley Conference. Late rotation, free throw, 2 for 2. He's somebody to watch out for defensively. Obviously, all defense last year. Had a league-high 74 blocks. Smith making a move on his own, knocking down 2 more. Missouri State wants to push. Miller gets a screen from Johnson, goes to the rack, lays it up and in. Now back to Smith. They just go back and forth. He gets his own, took the contact. No foul called. He sticks with it and comes back with 2 more. You like points? Welcome to the Gulf Coast Showcase. Jared Dixon deals to Rhodes. Church is doubled. And a cutting Miller to the rack 2 for JT Miller. Both teams in sync right now. It's Georgia Southern with the 7-point lead. Jake Alsmiller rises. And an over-the-back foul charged to Monte Glenn. That's his second foul. He'll have to take a seat. In comes Coy Simmons and Jared Hamilton as Glenn and Ike Smith sit down. Krecklow in from Missouri State. We've played half of the first half. They've got 47 points. Johnson for three. Oh, he liked that one. It wouldn't fall for him. Brown gets a pair of screens, and then a third from Simmons. On the drive, ran out of room. Hughes for three. Off of the shot clock, that's out of bounds. Ball turned over to Missouri State, who normally wear some aspect of purple or their maroon in one way or another. It's really only an outline trim on their jersey at this point. Going with the generally all black uniforms. Hamilton with the left hand off the front iron. Here comes Missouri State. 4-on-2. Dixon leans right in, takes the blocking foul and the bucket. Jared Dixon nearly was called for a charge. It was not to be. The and one for Dixon. A close call, 50-50 at best. But give Dixon the hoop and the harm. Yeah, those feet are moving. That's a blocking foul indeed. Back to a 5-point lead for Georgia Southern. Brown circles around Simmons, tries to find the cutting Hamilton, who's rejected. Another swat, and if you were with us for the first game, that's a theme. Had a whole heck of a lot of blocks in the first game, and who else but Obadiah Church already getting in, impacting shots defensively. Brown for three. Yes, sir. Krecklow waves away Rhodes. Church back to Rhodes, mid-range, down it goes. 2-point bucket makes it a 6-point game. Jared Rhodes from Palmetto, Florida. The senior at Missouri State. Brown raises up again, in and out. He wanted that one. Johnson, another rebound. Up ahead, Church finds Dixon, who couldn't handle the pass. Good pass from Obadiah Church, goes for naught. It's a turnover back to the Eagles and a 6-point lead for Georgia Southern as we head to a timeout here in Estero, Florida on Flow Hoops TV. Back here in Estero, Spencer Siegel with you. Through the majority of this first half, we've seen a lot of offense, and we'll see if that changes over the course of this game, but with the way that the skill players are playing right now, it doesn't seem to be that way. Ike Smith, Tukey Brown, Alize Johnson all getting in on it to this point. And as we move forward here today, these two coaches have tremendous respect for one another. Spoke to Paul Lusk about Wichita leaving for the American Athletic Conference, the AAC. He says everybody understands that it's wide open, but that doesn't make it a done deal. Missouri State projected to finish first. But those are projections. That's exactly what they are. Coy Simmons with a nice reverse and lay-in to put the Eagles back up 8. A drive from Dixon, kicks to Krecklow, foul on the shot. 3 ball goes down, but it's an offensive foul, so that 3 ball will be wiped away. Dixon called for the charge. Well, that's a close one. Another 50-50 as we were just talking about earlier. That's about the same as the first. So, indeed, 50-50. We'll call one an offensive foul and one a block. Ike Smith back in the ballgame. He's guarded by Dixon, or Rhodes rather. And another foul. This one charged to the Bears on the defensive side. It's the 6th team foul as both teams now will be shooting free throws from here on out in the first half. Smith gets it to Hughes. Mike Hughes is an excellent third option for Mark Byington's Georgia Southern Eagles. This time, though, B.J. Gladden, who has just checked into the game, gets called for the travel. And another turnover. Rhodes for 3. Front iron. Rebound Johnson off the backboard and down. Alize Johnson with his 8th point of the night. Johnson 3 for 7 from the field. Has missed on his 3 3-point attempts though. Brown probes, gets bumped, nearly got it to fall. And another blocking foul, and the Missouri State faithful on the far side of the court. None too pleased. Church is whistled. Last 2 years, Tukey Brown has been a first-team All-Sun Belt selection. He was the Freshman of the Year in 2016. And the first freshman to lead Georgia Southern in scoring since the 1999-2000 season. He's already made his mark on this season with team highs in the games against Cal State Bakersfield and Wake Forest. The Wake Forest game, a heck of a game that Georgia Southern pulled out on the road. An 85-83 victory. Brown led the way in that one with 22, but Ike Smith made the game-tying 3 in the final minute and then sank 2 go-ahead free throws with 3.6 seconds to go to pick up the 2-point win. Jared Rhodes with a hop, step, and a bucket. Here comes Smith to his left. Fade away. Well off the mark that time. Smith, not a good shot there. Although with him, it's really, for Byington, about trusting your 2 guys. Trusting that they'll make the right decision. In the corner, 3 ball, no good. Rebound, fought for, and Johnson ends up with it and hooks one in. Georgia Southern couldn't secure the rebound. It costs them 2 points. It's now a 4-point game. A whistle and a block. And a lot going on the floor right now. That's a tough call. No, they didn't get Rhodes for that one. They got Reggie Scurry, so a 1-and-1. Simmons off the front iron. Rebound to Rhodes. He loses the ball, picks it up, finds Johnson, who sends it to Miller. They wanted a Johnson post up. Instead, he makes the right cut. No shot. We've got a blocking foul. Looks like this time they got David Lee Jones Jr., the sophomore from Tampa. Well, that's about as close as we'll get to Fort Myers with these two teams. Tampa about 2 hours away if you do it right. It'll send Johnson to the line for two. Johnson is the Missouri Valley Conference preseason player of the year to go along with the #1 preseason ranking in the MVC for the team. The only other MVC preseason player of the year for Missouri State was Kyle Weems back in 2011, but he's coming off of an injury, Alize Johnson is, and he'll check out after making that free throw. And when talking to Coach Paul Lusk about it, he said there aren't any restrictions on him at this point, but we do want to monitor his stretches on the floor. We don't want him playing more than 3 to 5 minutes at a time. Jones Jr. can't grab a three. The ball, before it bounced out of bounds, we had a whistle and a foul on Jared Dixon. That's his second. More free throws. And the last 1-and-1 for Georgia Southern before they're in the double bonus. But forget about those restrictions that aren't there, or forget about monitoring the stretches on the floor. He scored 23 of the team's 54 points in their loss to North Dakota State. Now, granted, it was a loss, and they would have preferred to have the win, but Johnson with 23 points and 20 rebounds. Just the second player in Division I this year to have a 20-20 game. Joining Noah Dickerson with the Washington Huskies. It's a 4-point lead for Georgia Southern with just over 4 to play here in the first half. Good back and forth contest so far. No ball movement right now. Rhodes looking to make something happen. Doesn't have Scurry. Instead, the cutting Dixon with the lay-in. Nice find from Jared Rhodes to Jared Dixon. And it's a 2-point game. And despite the unhappy fans from the foul calls, this time it's an offensive foul. Looked like B.J. Gladden tried to set a screen and got caught moving. That's tough. Tough call on Gladden, but that's the way it goes. We'll move on. Take a break with a 2-point game. Missouri State with a chance to tie the game when we come back. Welcome back to Germain Arena here at the Gulf Coast Showcase. Having a good time just outside of Fort Myers, Sanibel Island, all over the place. This has been a fun tournament so far in the first 2 games, and we've still got a ways to go. This tournament features 8 teams on the men's side, 8 on the women's side. The men's 8-team bracket starts today, ends on Wednesday. Mentioned UMKC and Manhattan, this game 2 between Missouri State and Georgia Southern. Then at 5 o'clock tonight, we've got Penn out of the Ivy League and Northern Illinois from the MAC. Georgia Southern wanted a walk on Dixon. Didn't get the call. Miller rises up. Rebound to Simmons. Final game tonight, 7:30, the Towson Tigers and the Florida Atlantic Owls. Smith and Brown on the floor at the same time, and Brown's wide open for 3. He won't miss that. Back to a 5-point lead. Tukey Brown adds to his total. He's now got 15. They want Johnson in the post. He had position. Good help from Simmons, but Johnson's just too big and strong, and he fell out of his shoe in the process. Let's see, did he do it without the shoe? No, it was on the way up. Two and a half to play. Now Georgia Southern slowing things down, working along the perimeter. Ball deflected, then Smith finds himself in the paint. Nice rebound from Miller, pushing the ball, Missouri State. Rhodes on the wing, cuts to the middle. Johnson really wanted the ball that time. Instead, they go the other direction for Scurry, who makes a strong move in the post and finishes with 2. It's a 1-point game. A beautiful left-handed floater from Reggie Scurry to net his first 2 points. Tukey Brown for 3. He answers right back. Brown's got 18 in the first half. Screen from Scurry. Dixon on the drive. The scoop. Rebound. Scurry couldn't get it to go. Then Johnson couldn't corral it. Back come the Eagles with a 4-point lead. Smith looking on the run. His 3-ball misses long. Offensive rebound. Simmons. Ball knocked away. It stays with the Eagles. Now Paul Lusk wants a timeout. 42-38. A game that's already seen 4 double-digit scorers, and we're only halfway through. This is a star-studded matchup. This is what we expected from these two teams as well. So Georgia Southern will set up with a minute to go. Confusion on the inbounds, and then they just chuck it off of the Missouri State defender. That was Mike Hughes making a heads-up play as he was falling out of bounds. So they'll try it one more time. They run the same play. Hughes has it up top, gets a screen from Simmons, and setting a lot of them tonight. Allsmiller deals to Hughes, offensive foul, and Hughes can't believe it. Give JT Miller credit for keeping his hands out of the cookie jar on that one and just taking the brunt of the contact. And the ever so slight extension of the elbow is good enough to draw the offensive foul. Dixon brings it up with 45 to play. Rhodes spins, doesn't have any help. Gets it out to Miller. They want Johnson in the post. They've got him. Johnson plants his foot, spins. Oh, he traveled. Nice move from Johnson, but he didn't hold his pivot foot. Let's take another look at that one. That was close. That's a professional move there, though. Let's see. Yep, yes, he did. Tell you what, if he does that at the NBA level, that's probably 2 points. Not here, though. About a 3-second difference between shot clock and game clock, so Georgia Southern will wind this down most of the way in the hands of Tukey Brown. Alsmiller with the runner off the backboard. 3 seconds. Can they get a shot off? Johnson will heave. And that's the first half. A nice runner from Jake Alsmiller. And Georgia Southern takes a 6-point lead into the halftime locker room, 44-38. A high-scoring affair. Make sure you stick with us for the second half of this one. Should be a good game down the stretch, but right now it's the Eagles with a lead, thanks to Smith, Brown, and Alsmiller. Here on Flow Hoops TV, we'll be back. Second half just about to get underway here at Germain Arena. Spencer Siegel here with you. It's a 6-point lead for Georgia Southern, leading Missouri State, and the ball will start in the hands of the Bears. And with the second half getting underway, we remind you that you can catch all 24 games here on Flow Hoops TV during the Gulf Coast Showcase. Having a fun time already, and good support shown on each side for both of these teams, Georgia Southern and Missouri State. We're ready to go. Ronnie Russo will start things off. And the first thing that Missouri State wants to do is get the ball in the hands of Alizé Johnson, but he's doubled right away. And they'll shed the ball to the other side of the court. Russo has Rhodes get it to Johnson. He's doubled again. Russo for three. That's a big-time shot from Ronnie Russo, who saw just 5 minutes in that first half. They're going to need him here in the second half. Russo, a guy who missed almost the entire Missouri Valley Conference season last year, missing the final 18 games. When he's in the game, that really determines the success of Missouri State over the last season. He's a quarterback, a ball handler, a point guard, whatever you want to call him. He is essential to the flow of this team. Ryan Kreklow is in the corner. Keeps his pivot foot, sends it to Rhodes. They have trouble getting it up to Alizé Johnson. 3 on the shot clock, fade away jumper. There's Johnson with the tap, but a foul called. And the ball stays right here on this side of the court. Ronnie Russo missed the last 18 games last year. He's the key to success because the Bears were 11-4 before he left the team. Then they went 6-12 the rest of the way. He was an NJCAA junior college Division I All-American second team selection in 2016 and became State Fair Community College's all-time leading scorer after just 1 season. Granted, JUCO is usually a 2-year deal for most of the players, but if you are able to transfer in, then why not? And that's what Russo has done. A lot of transfers on this Missouri State team. JUCO transfers and others. Monte Glenn looks for a jump shot, can't find it. Russo the rebound. Johnson let that one go. There was some thought on the Georgia Southern bench that that one was off of him. They've really been trying hard to find him in the post. Give Georgia Southern credit. for D'ing him up nicely. Russo floats, offensive foul. And there's Jake Alsmiller coming in, taking the charge. Feeder set, and that's how you do it. Mentioned earlier that Mark Byington said Alsmiller affects the game without scoring much. He spaces the floor, averages 2.5 charges drawn per game. I wish we had a stat of charges drawn that was more accessible, because to me that's one of the most important stats. It's as good as a turnover. Rhodes, fade away, bucket. Three-point game as Missouri State has a chance to tie it with the right shot, like this one. Well offline, Krecklow couldn't get it to go. The ball right back underneath. Rebound missed by Rhodes, but there is Dixon to clean things up. And it's a one-point game once again. Smith with a fadeaway jumper. Rebound, Glenn. Strong defense from Church to keep Glenn from backing him down. Mike Hughes drives, dishes, Alsmiller. Short, rebound, Krecklow. Up ahead, good steal effort by Brown. Can he keep it in bounds? Yes. And Smith for three. Church sets the screen, gets the ball, kicks it out. Krecklow wide open, three ball, down it goes. 2-point lead for Missouri State. Their first lead of the day. It's 48-46, and they've started the second half on an 8-0 run. Alsmiller to answer, and he does. Krecklow nearly traveled, instead sends it out to Church. He'll go down low to Krecklow with the reverse scoop. Nice layup. 5 quick points from Ryan Krecklow have gotten the Bears right back in it. Now Georgia Southern needs to answer. 1-point game. Missouri State with the lead. It's Glenn with the hook. Johnson the rebound. He snatches it down and brings it up himself. Johnson in the corner. Krecklow again. Not this time. There's Brown. He's swatted by Church. Obadiah Church comes up with yet another block, and that leads to a timeout. Obadiah Church with 2 blocks today. They've both been emphatic, and it's Missouri State with a 1-point lead as we head to break here on Flo Hoops TV. You get a good look at Mark Byington, the Georgia Southern head coach, who is trying to help his team win 10 conference matchups in the Sun Belt for the 4th straight year. In 2015 and 2016, when Tukey Brown and Ike Smith were freshmen, Georgia Southern was the youngest team in the country. Well, the good thing about being the youngest team in the country is that 3 and 4 years later, you're no longer the youngest team in the country anymore. And in this case, they've had a lot of experience. Now, just before Brown and Smith got here, Georgia Southern was in the Sun Belt Championship game and played one of the more memorable ones in Sun Belt Championship history, a final score of 38-36 that they lost, fell to Georgia State. Alsmiller tries a 3, he connects, and Georgia Southern back on top as we go back and forth here in the second half. Alsmiller's 3 gives him 11 points. Miller with a nice bounce pass for Scurry and 1. Johnson out of the double team. Miller across the paint. And then Scurry finishes strong. Tied at 52, and Scurry with the bonus free throw gives Missouri State the lead right back. Tukey Brown probes, loses the ball. It was poked away. Georgia Southern keeps it. When I spoke to Mark Byington earlier this week, he said, I'm working on stopping Missouri State right now. Trying to watch film. They're beating Western Kentucky 24-2. Ball poked away, turned over, and here comes Alizé Johnson. Down low, Scurry. He has some nice moves down there. This time too heavy. Rebound to Smith. Alsmiller stops and backs down. Johnson fades away and pours in another one. Alsmiller looking good in the second half. He does all the little things right. He scores the ball too. Went 5 for 12 from three-point land to grab 17 points against Bluefield State. No shot. Kreklow was fouled. No, we're going the other way. That's an offensive foul. They tabbed Scurry. He's battling with Brown down there, and then, oh, that's a tough call. Just trying to body up Brown. Offensive foul. Gives Georgia Southern the ball back with a 1-point lead. No call with some contact and with no room to operate. Mike Hughes just chucks it off of JT Miller. Scoring pace has slowed down considerably in the second half, but the game has stayed tight. 2 on the shot clock. Brown has to hoist, and he comes up empty. Shot clock violation. Turns the ball over to the Bears. Smith departs. In comes Jared Hamilton. Quan Jackson also steps in for the first time today. He's in for Hughes. Ball tapped away. They get it across the midline anyway. Kreklow goes down to Scurry, who's got a dunk. Reggie Scurry making his presence felt in the second half. 1-point lead, Bears. Hamilton around the arc, comes back the other way, nothing there. Brown drive, strong to the hole, down the hatch. Georgia Southern takes the lead right back. 8 lead changes. They want Scurry. Good defense that time from Coy Simmons, so Scurry sets the screen. Gets the ball, free throw line Jay, off the front iron and out. Brown pushing, 3 ball, short. Up ahead, looking for Alizé Johnson. They've got him with numbers. He'll hoist a 3. Rebound to Georgia Southern. Alsmiller again. Bingo! The friendly bounce for Jake Alsmiller. 2 threes in the second half, and Georgia Southern leads by 4. Dixon on the drive for Krecklow. That was deflected. Brown's got it. He'll run with it. Good defense from Krecklow to try and slow him down, and then Scurry. Looks like he got his hand in there for a foul on the floor. And that ends a wild 4 minutes of basketball action. It results in a Georgia Southern 4-point lead. Back and forth we go on Flow Hoops TV. Eagles lead by 4. Welcome back to Germain Arena here in Estero, Florida. We're just 2 miles from the campus of Florida Gulf Coast University. A picture-perfect day outside and a fairly entertaining game inside. These two sides have gone back and forth now. 8 lead changes between the two. However, Georgia Southern has led for most of this game. Missouri State has led for 2 of the 28 minutes that we've played. 11:35 to play in this one. It's 59-55, Georgia Southern. Eagles with the ball. Tukey Brown will set it up. Jared Hamilton down low, he traveled. Krecklow, who had a nice stretch on the floor, checks out of the game. Ronnie Russo is back in. And I think that's a good move from head coach Paul Lusk. When Russo has been in the game, that's when Missouri State has seemingly been at their best. Down low, they go to Rhodes. He's doubled. And now he's in the corner and in trouble. Did he hold his pivot foot? He did not. Travel. And back it comes. Turnovers right now have stayed moderately low. 12 turnovers for Missouri State compared to 8 for Georgia Southern. And just 11 points off of turnovers for the Eagles, 7 for the Bears. This has been about as even of a game as it gets. Assists are separated by 1, rebounds by 3. The difference is the three-point shot. Driving Smith, that's a strong move to the hole. Up ahead, Dixon. They want to push. Russo to Church. Now Ronnie Russo with Ike Smith on him. Obadiah Church will set a screen. Picked up by Glenn. Nowhere to go. Down low, Church by himself. Tough decision on a bounce pass. Turned over once again. Brown will slow it down. Tough pass, handled by Hamilton. Smith from the free throw line. Beautiful touch from Ike Smith. He delivers again. He's got 16. It's now an 8-point lead for the Eagles. They're going to nab Alsmiller in the back for a blocking foul. Alsmiller just trying to play some defense. And he got in the way. Under 10 to play. And a timeout before JT Miller could get the ball, and that was about to be a 5-second violation. Instead, Bears will get 30 seconds to talk things over and figure out how they want to go about things. Missouri State will get the ball back when we come back. Well, the Georgia Southern Eagles are on a 9-0 run as Missouri State has failed to score in the last 3.5 minutes. But you can't count them out of this ball game just yet. This has been a game of runs, although it's been close the whole way. 8-point lead for the Georgia Southern Eagles over Missouri State. For Georgia Southern, looking to contend in the Sun Belt this year, Mark Byington says that they have to embrace a dirty, grinded-out type of game that's not free-flowing. Well, that's the opposite of what it's been here today. It's been about as free-flowing as it gets. Jared Rhodes on the drive, flushes one home. Beautiful right-handed stuff from Rhodes. And out of the timeout, Missouri State gets what they needed, points, and stops the 9-0 run. Hamilton on the drive. Russo fell down. And on the fight for the rebound, it's going to go the other way. Over the top. Looks like they got Hamilton that time. Jared Rhodes thought about a three. In the hands of Rhodes again. They want Johnson down low, but defended well, this time by Sean O'Connell. And the ball turned over again. They can't get the ball to Johnson down low. You've got to get him the ball either there or you've got to do it before, but either way, your best player needs to touch the ball. Nice putback by Glenn. It's back to an 8-point lead. Here to Johnson. Now they find him with O'Connell on him. Makes the jump move. That foul's on the ground. It's the 5th team foul. And just the 8th foul of the half for the two sides combined. Play set up. Krecklow lost the handle. It's going to stay here off of O'Connell. Now they've got a different angle to come from. All the way towards the sideline. Krecklow will inbound, and Church didn't see it, and the ball stolen away by Glenn. Church had no idea that was coming for him. Glenn picks up his dribble. They get it to Hughes, who hoists. Tip in. O'Connell is there. Sean O'Connell, the redshirt junior from Roswell, Georgia, grabs two. It's now a 10-point lead. 8 to play. Missouri State needs to get going. Miller with the move is fouled by O'Connell. He'll head to the line for two. Tries the up and under with the right hand, and O'Connell couldn't believe it. And he got him. JT Miller. Good on the first. The senior guard was perfect from the field on Wednesday in a win over Southern. He was 5 for 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, and 4 for 4 from the free throw line. One of 2 this time. Nine-point lead as Georgia Southern sets up the offense. Ike Smith into the paint, sends a forearm shiver. Can't finish though, resets the shot clock. They've got Hughes in the corner who makes a nice move and hits a 3-ball from the baseline. Mike Hughes makes it a 12-point lead. It's the largest lead of the day for Georgia Southern. Got to get the ball to Alize Johnson. He's doubled, finding the open man. Krecklow was covered quickly. Dixon's got a 3. Short. Rebound, Eagles. Boy, and everything working for Georgia Southern right now with 7 minutes to play. And they're happy just taking their time now to set things up, especially when you've got three guys in Smith, Brown, and Hughes who can all create their own shot. The way Hughes just did with his step back. They'll try Glenn down low, who's guarded by Church, and Church fouls him to send Glenn to the free throw line for two. Church on the all-defensive team in the MVC last year with a good effort there, and he thinks he got all ball, and he may have an argument that time. Going to send us to a timeout, though, as we move on with 6:44 to play. It's a 12-point lead for Georgia Southern on Flow Hoops TV. Well, what's been an entertaining game so far today has started to go the way of Georgia Southern, but this one's not over yet. Still got 6 minutes and 44 seconds to play. It's 70-58 Eagles. And leading the way for Georgia Southern, Tukey Brown with 20 points, Ike Smith with 16, Jake Alsmiller has 13, and Mike Hughes has 11. 4 players in double figures. And although Alizé Johnson is a perfect 6 for 6 from the free throw line and has 16 points and 11 rebounds to mark the tournament's first double-double, he needs to get the ball more down the stretch if Missouri State is to get back into this game. They've once again gone 3 minutes without a field goal. And Monte Glenn, after being fouled, heads to the line for 2 shots, the junior from Carrollton, Georgia. Coach Byington says Glenn always has the ability to score, but he's gotten much better with his defense and his rebounding. 1 for 2 at the line. Rebound Johnson, his 12th. Swinging it around the perimeter, Miller sends it to Dixon, who floats from the free throw line. No good. Rebound, fought for, and Reggie Scurry is going to go to the line for another and one. Boy, without Reggie Scurry on the boards right now, Missouri State wouldn't have their 14-second chance points. Scurry's getting close to double digits as well. He's got 7 with 1 more here. In terms of foul trouble on the Georgia Southern side, Jake Alsmiller has 4. And despite playing just 10 minutes, Sean O'Connell with 3. Those are the only 2 players in foul trouble for the Eagles on the Bears side. 3 players with 3 fouls, Reggie Scurry, Ronnie Russo, and Obadiah Church. Under 6 to play. 6 on the shot clock for Brown, who finds Smith. Long 3 ball off the front iron, bouncing out of bounds. Saved by Hughes. Johnson goes up for it. Russo comes down with it. He goes up ahead to Scurry, and then the ball batted away as he tried to find Miller on the fast break. Eagles get possession back. You can't afford that right now if you're Paul Lusk and the Bears. Every possession for Georgia Southern is about 30 more seconds that Missouri State doesn't have the ball. Alsmiller to Smith for 3. Rebound Hughes, and here we go again. Bring it back out. Georgia Southern can just sit on this. Right now the clock is their friend with a 10-point lead. Alsmiller rises up. And tapped back. Eagles with the ball again. Well, hold on a second. It was called a backcourt violation. But on the back tap rebound, they will award the ball to Missouri State. That's a tough call. And the The best that I can come up with is that on an inadvertent tip, you're allowed to go beyond half court. But if you intentionally swat it back, that's what makes it a backcourt violation. I don't know about that one. That's tough, although it's going to give Missouri State a break. They get the ball. Can they take advantage of it? Miller on the drive, floats one up. Bad shot. Rebound, fought for. Miller again, gets it himself and puts it back in. And Missouri State indeed gets two. Now it's Georgia Southern who have gone the last 2 minutes without a point. And a timeout by the Eagles. Not a bad idea if you're Mark Byington. He wants to settle his team down. And that'll take us to our break here. It's now an 8-point game. Georgia Southern with the timeout. They lead at 71-63 on Flow Hoops TV. Back and ready for action. The Eagles with the ball up 8. 4.5 minutes to play here in game 2 of day 1 of the Gulf Coast Showcase. Spencer Siegel with you. And here comes Mike Hughes for 3. Long rainbow, no good. Rebound Johnson. They want to push the pace. And then thrown away in an effort to find Dixon. Alizé Johnson with a poor turnover that time. Can't afford that. Now Tukey Brown will slow things down once again. Every possession is so crucial for Missouri State. You can't afford the turnovers, and now the Bears have 17 turnovers in the game. Smith with a fadeaway. In and out. Up ahead for Russo. That's who they want the ball in the hands of coming up the floor. Johnson's got it in the post. You've got to feed him. Scurry's had a hot hand. Miller on the cut, slashes to the rim, can't finish. Look, I understand sometimes he's covered. They've played him well in the post defensively, Georgia Southern has, but when your best player isn't touching the ball down the stretch, it makes it harder to win, not just for him to try and score as Alsmiller misses on the 3, but just to have him make a play. You want him to get a chance to make a play. Russo with a nice cut move, but he's blocked. Sent back by Georgia Southern. Now we're under 3 minutes, and it's still an 8-point game. We haven't seen points in a while. Eagles, though, have missed on their last 6 field goal attempts. Russo with good D, but he's called for the foul. He can't believe it. It was the ref standing right there next to the 2 players that made the call, and I don't think he saw what was going on between the 2 of them on the other side. He was blinded there and nabbed Russo for the foul. Russo out of the game. They bring in Rhodes. Miller falls down, gets back up in time to play Dion Smith, but that's just a nice shot. Ike Smith and Tukey Brown making their presence felt. They finally grab a field goal, and now Johnson does have the ball at the top of the key. A foul before the shot, no shot. Free throws for Alizé Johnson. Boy, Johnson just looks bigger than everybody else on the floor. Looks like an NBA body. 6'9", forward. Decent ball handling skills. He was a projected second-round pick last year. He'll likely be a second-round pick in the 2018 draft. Of course, he could always choose to come back for his senior season, but I think the Missouri State faithful are happy enough to have him back this year to start. Just over 2 minutes to play. It's a 9-point game, and Missouri State has to bear down defensively. Brown on the drive. Dishes to Smith. Thought about it, then decides to take the three. Miller the rebound. Here come the Bears. All the way to the rack. A floater. Beautiful shot. J.T. Miller. And Missouri State has cut it to 7. Taking control himself coast to coast. Somebody's got to stop the ball. Drove right in on where Obadiah Church took up some space. None of the Eagle defenders could get to him. They've all got their eyes away from the ball, and by the time they turned around, it was too late. And then how about that floater? Over the outstretched hand of Monte Glenn. You can't count out Missouri State. This was a back-and-forth game for a while. 8 lead changes. It was a flurry right at the end of the first half and beginning of the second half, where we saw these two teams go back and forth. Missouri State 3 of 16 from 3, and in the first 2 games here today, the losing team has not shot the ball well from 3. Manhattan had made just 3-point field goals all game as well. You go to the other side, Georgia Southern 10 for 28. That's decent enough to get the job done. They've made 7 more threes than Missouri State, and they lead by 7 points. Give credit, though, to the Bears and their bench for stepping up when needed. The bench has come up with 27 big points. Georgia Southern only has 8 bench points. By the way, that foul on Alsmiller did disqualify him from the game. His 5th foul. He's fouled out. So now into the game is the sophomore guard, David Lee Jones Jr. Ronnie Russo has 4 fouls, but he's not on the floor right now. 1:19 left. Brown to make a move. Church rejects it, and Johnson comes away with the ball. He'll find Miller, who slashes to the rim, lays it up and in. It's a 5-point game. Missouri State in desperation mode. They came up with 1 stop. They're going to need another. They tried the press, and now the defense is behind the ball. Tukey Brown thinks better of it, brings it back out. 50 seconds to play, 13 on the shot clock. Brown gets a screen from Glenn. Dixon goes around the first one. Then Brown to his right. Church straight up, off the backboard, no good. Rebound Bears, here they come. They've got numbers. Up ahead to Johnson. Miller, slam dunk. 3-point game with 30 seconds to go. Lusk and his crew urging his team to press. There's only a 3-second difference between shot clock and game clock. They've got to foul. They've got to come up with a foul, but first a timeout from Mark Byington and Georgia Southern. It's a 3-point game. We're going to keep it right here, but how about the defense and then the transition offense for Missouri State? The layup attempt no good. Probably could have been an offensive basket interference anyway. And then on the other end, Miller got away with the travel that time. But you know what? Every now and then, it's okay. And I'll tell you what, the getting away with the offensive basket interference makes difference, because if they do call that, I didn't see who it was, but whoever was hanging on the rim after that shot came up for Georgia Southern, if they call that, it's a dead ball and Missouri State has to reset on offense. Instead, they just went right for it. Now they're going to need to foul right away, and they get Brown, who will head to the free throw line now. Tukey Brown is an 80% free throw shooter this year, but they haven't actually gotten enough fouls yet. My mistake. 1 more foul for a 1-and-1. Let's see who they get it in the hands of. They tried Brown, nothing's there, and they're going to call the timeout. The next foul will result in a 1-and-1, but Georgia Southern couldn't get the ball in bounds, and when it comes to timeouts, that's their last. We're going to take a break and bring it right on back. Don't go anywhere. This game's not over yet. We're back at Germain Arena. The final 22 seconds of this one, and it's coming down to the wire. Georgia Southern has the ball with no timeouts left. They're going to have to inbound it now, whether they like it or not. And the Missouri State 7-0 run and 12-2 run over the last 6 minutes has helped them come within 3. They get the ball into Tukey Brown. They try, well, they're not going to foul him right away. Then Kreklow does get the foul. It'll send Brown to the free throw line for a 1-and-1. 80% this year, 16 of 20 from the free throw line. Tonight, or today rather, he's 2 for 2. Last year, Brown a 76% free throw shooter. And the biggest free throw of the game right here, if he misses the front end of the 1-and-1, Missouri State will have a chance to tie the game. And he can't connect. 3-point game. Here come the Bears with 15 seconds to play. Timeout. 10.9 left on the clock. And the Bears will take their timeout, and they may even put an extra second back on the clock because they called that timeout earlier. We're looking at 10.9 right now. That's the way it'll stay. A heck of a game we've seen so far today. Leading the way in terms of the scoring, Tukey Brown with 20, Ike Smith with 18 on Georgia Southern's side. Alizé Johnson with 17, but it's JT Miller who's come on strong here in the second half. He's got 19 points to go along with 5 rebounds, 9 of 12 from the field. Johnson, meanwhile, 17 and 14 rebounds. No timeouts for Missouri State now, so they're going to have to get the ball inbounds as well. And who's the guy that you want to go to in this situation for a 3-point shot? Well, in terms of threes today, Ronnie Russo is 2 for 2, but he's not on the floor. The only other person to make a 3 is Kreklow, and he's out there. Inbounded to Alizé Johnson. He'll pull up for 3. Off the front iron, rebound Smith. And now the Eagles head to the free throw line with a chance to ice the game. Johnson got a good look. The defense by Gladden, just enough to force the miss. Smith to the free throw line, 2 for 3 today. A 69% free throw shooter. It'll be a 1-and-1. And with no timeouts for Missouri State, a miss, and the Bears will have to go right away. First one's down, and a 4-point lead with 5 seconds to go. Smith comes up with a big free throw. This is the second one. Bears looking to go quickly. They'll put up a shot. Down it goes with 0.7 to go, and they want to foul right away. Inbounded, fouled. Hold on a second. That's the ball game, says the refs. Georgia Southern ekes out a 1-point victory, 74-73. The miss on the second shot by Smith gave the Bears a chance, and a 3-ball by Rhodes cut it to 1. But just in time, the buzzer sounds for Georgia Southern, and they'll be on the winning side of this bracket for the remainder of this tournament. That means tomorrow in the second round of the Gulf Coast Showcase, it's the Georgia Southern Eagles to take on the UMKC Kangaroos. And in the losers bracket at 11 o'clock a.m. tomorrow, Missouri State and Manhattan. Eagles and Kangaroos will play at 5 tomorrow. We'll have those games for you right here on Flow Hoops TV. Final scoring Game 2, Georgia Southern 74, Missouri State 73. Make sure to join us at 5 o'clock for the Penn Quakers and Northern Illinois Huskies here in Game 3 of the Gulf Coast Showcase. Spencer Siegel signing off from Game 2, saying adios.